All right, welcome back, everybody, to episode 26 of Recliner Sports Talk. My name is Nick.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Zach.
All right, we got a full NBA playoff edition of Recliner Sports Talk. Obviously, some playing games have happened. Oh, there he is. I wonder who Brandon thinks is going to win it all. No, I'm just kidding. So we're going to talk some playoff surprises, things that have happened so far in the playoffs that are going to happen in the playoffs. Here we go. Oh, God. Can't even get through talking. He's flat two different polar opposites on the screen already. Then who we think are going to be in the finals, and then our champions and why. Okay, I think we're all going to be a little biased here, but hey, you're going to get what we think. So, first up, all right, Brandon, you've been watching NBA. What are some surprises that you've seen so far, and what are some surprises that are going to happen in these playoffs?
I mean, for me, I think the biggest surprise is Phoenix as the 2 seed. I looked up some of their stats today. I just don't see how they made it there. Their top 5 scorers are Devin Booker, who is averaging 24 points, but guess what? He's shooting 34% from 3. In a year that the league average was the highest it's ever been, Devin Booker is a career 35% three-point shooter. He's not that great of a shooter. I don't know where that narrative has come from. You know, like, I think we need to take a step back and realize he's really not that good. He's just shoots a lot. I'm serious. He's not, okay, he's good. He's not efficient. I used the wrong word. He's not efficient.
I can agree with that.
Okay, I'll take that statement back. He's just not as efficient as we think.
But isn't that the
which is crazy to say?
That big those high scoring games, it's like, wow, look, he had a 50-point game, and then you look at all the shots he takes all the time, and the nights that he's hot, yeah, he's gonna have those nights. But the night he's not, that's when you get those lower points.
Going forward with the Suns, like DeAndre Ayton, he doesn't really impress me whenever I watch the Suns, which is, I'll admit, it's not that often, but I do watch them. And every time I see, it's like, number 1 pick, I don't think he's that great. I know big men, they typically take a little bit longer to develop. The Suns, their third leading scorer, Bridges, he's good. I like him a lot, Villanova guy. So I'll give him a pass there. But then you have their fourth and fifth leading scorer are, I forgot Chris Paul. So Chris Paul, obviously, but their fifth and sixth leading scorer, it's Jay Crowder and Dario Saric, who both have under the league minimum PER. They're bodies, but honestly, the Suns they're not deep of a team. They rely heavily on Booker, Ayton, Bridges, and Paul. And if Ayton gets into foul trouble, they could be in trouble. The Suns can be. They can be in trouble. So their record, it's, they're the 2 seed, but I don't have them going deep at all. And that's my surprise, really.
I think to feed off with, and I didn't mean to cut you off. No, sorry, Nick. But to feed off with Booker, I think because the Suns have been so bad, he would put up monster numbers, and nobody really looked into, hey, man, he's only shooting 30%. He's only shooting, you see 56 points and a loss, or 60 points and a loss for Devin Booker, and you're like, free this man, get him on another team. I think that was like the biggest thing for me this year. It was seeing him. He kind of started out slow this year. Like, he wasn't his usual self, but the Phoenix Suns were still winning. Like, the pressure was all off of him. And so maybe he was a little bit more relaxed this year. But I think he's a really good player. But like you said, he's not efficient. He hasn't been efficient. He's just a scorer. He's a typical guy in the NBA now who puts up a lot of points with a lot of shots.
Sorry to cut you off real quick. You have to be efficient in the playoffs. Look at the Wizards. They shot 14% from 3. I don't care how good you play. Do you know they shot, I think, 6% better from the field than Boston last night? But because they shot so poorly from 3, they lost by 15 or whatever they lost by.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That was one of the things I was going to bring up too. Like, the Wizards were one of the hottest teams going into this, but the Celtics are just a solid squad. Like, they're very well coached. They're a team I don't want to see in the playoffs as a Philly fan. I do not want to see Jason Tatum in the playoffs. So I hope they lose one of these games early, or one of these series early, because I don't want to see them in the playoffs. Because when they get in, it just seems like Boston is a team. Regular season, you're always questioning them. But as soon as they get in, they're a team that just needs to get in, and they play really well in the playoffs, and they showed it last night. Or last night. The Wizards are not. I love Bradley Beal. Russell Westbrook is having a great end of the season, but are they built for the playoffs? And like you said, they're not efficient, and they weren't efficient last night, and that's why I lost the game.
Yeah, and two, I think Brandon's right. Listen, the Suns, I was real high on them, honestly, going in, and then I looked at the matchup. They get the winner of Golden State or the Lakers. Obviously, both having what you would call down years, right? For what they've been.
Yep.
Still don't want to play them. Kind of like you're saying about Boston, but even better. Here, hey, guess what? You guys are great. Number 2 seed. Hey, guess what? You're going to get the 2 best players in the world, arguably, in LeBron James and Steph Curry. You're getting one of them. So again, it's like, hey, great job on the season. This is what you get. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, all right, well, I did like the Suns. Then I looked at it. I think, and I don't know what's going to happen here. I think for the Western Conference Finals, the Clippers have a very nice road to get there.
Nick, that's what I have written down.
And listen, I'm not going to say my finals pick yet, but it would be crazy to not think this could happen, that it's going to be a Clippers-Lakers finals. And I think that right side of the bracket's very tough. If the Lakers win, if the the Golden State win, then on one side, you're going to have Denver, Portland, Phoenix, and then either the Lakers or Golden State. They've earned their way to the Western Conference Finals, getting through all of that. So, and I think the Eastern, I could say this because I'm a big fan. I think the Eastern Conference Finals a little bit easier route, at least on the Sixers side, right? That's what you get for being the number 1 seed. You're going to get either the Knicks, the Hawks, or then one of these other teams, the Pacers or the Wizards, right? I'm pretty sure that's who they're getting. So again, I think Brooklyn has the harder route where they have to go where they got to go Boston, Miami, Milwaukee. A little bit tougher than that other side, you know what I mean? So again, it's weird how that always happens. But hey, I would not be surprised if Boston causes a little havoc over there. I'm glad that they have to play the Nets first to get through. And I am still not sold on the Nets, people. Still not sold. Now listen, am I saying they're bad? Not at all. But to say they're going to win the entire thing, I'm not even saying the Eastern Conference Finals, the entire thing, I can still fathom them not even getting there or possibly getting there and choking in the finals. You know what I mean? So
they stay healthy.
Yeah, can't stay healthy. And 2, it's like we've seen at least one of these guys have horrible playoffs. Horrible. Kyrie does great when he's not the number 1 option. So he might do great. Who knows? KD, not worried about. But here's the thing. Are they going to stop a team that can also score with them? And who is that team? I don't know. But again, maybe that might come from the Western Conference side.
Yeah.
So again, the whole surprise of it all, I'm going to say the surprise of the draws, because I think the 2 top sides on both of them have easy draws for the Sixers and then possibly the Clippers, because I think the Utah Jazz are like the Texans. I really do. Texans, Bengals fall into that range. Even like the Minnesota Twins, right? That they just fall into this great regular season team. Yeah. Playoffs come and it's like, well, nice knowing you guys. Way to get.
As good as
I think Phoenix is the same.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I think Phoenix is the same.
I think Phoenix, the thing that I would ride on Phoenix here is you have some older guys with experience paired with the young experienced guys. What I mean by that, the 25-year-old guys that have 5 or 6 years of experience.
Nick, Draymond Green has more career playoff games played than the entire Phoenix Suns roster.
Hey,
that includes Chris Paul.
I'm not talking about who they're playing immediately. I'm just saying that's why people are getting hype on them too. You know what I mean? So, all right. Well,
so this is how I look at it too. Like Utah Jazz, Phoenix are 1 and 2, and the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors are fighting to get into the playoffs. So it was a down year on the West side. And let's be honest, would the Jazz and the Phoenix be 1 and 2 if the Lakers and Golden State were healthy? No. No, the late LeBron James was playing one of his career best seasons before he got hurt. Like, and then you lose Anthony Davis. I think the Utah Jazz are pretenders. I think Chris Paul is a difference maker. I really do. And I'm not a Chris Paul fan. But what I saw him do with the OKC Thunder last year just completely changed my mind about. He is a leader. I think behind the scenes, I don't think he's a great playoff player, but he's a difference maker to make that team at least get past the first round. And I truly believe that. I think the Utah Jazz are a team that I don't know how deep they're going to make it.
All right, Brandon, let me ask Brandon, who do the Suns, since you're a Suns hater right now, who do the Suns have a better chance of beating, the Warriors or the Lakers?
Neither.
I'm saying
I really don't like the Suns. Listen here, Chris Paul, he's made the Western Conference Finals one time since 2006. Since he's been
on some very good teams. I'll give you that.
And absolutely, he's been on some great teams. He's made the Western Conference Finals one time. He's not. Why is everyone acting like he's the MVP of the league this year? Believe me, I heard Nick Wright and Joy Taylor on First Things First say Chris Paul got their vote. Chris Paul for MVP. Are you kidding me? I mean, Chris Paul is great. He's a Hall of Famer. Don't get me wrong. But he's not going to put a team on his back and take them to the championship. Devin Booker's got to shoot better. If he proves that to me, yes, the Suns can. But if he's going to shoot 36%, 34, 35% from three, as many shots as he takes, they're going to get shot out of the gym by the Lakers. I mean, they really are. Their big men are not going to be able to beat the Lakers' big men, even if they're not healthy. I mean, come on. Seriously, look at what the Trailblazers have done. They have McCollum. They have Lillard. They've been great. Guess what? Playoff time, they stink. You know why? Guards are great regular season players, but the playoffs are all about your wings and your big man, and it's when defenses strap up. We see what James Harden does in the regular season. Playoff basketball is a totally different sport than the regular season. Defenses they key in on guys. It's more intense. It's totally different. The Suns, like I said, Draymond Green has more playoff experience than the whole roster. I think that means something, even if they play the Warriors without Clay. I think the Warriors can give them a run for their money.
You guys know who the number one defense is going into the playoffs?
Milwaukee?
The Lakers, without Bron and Anthony Davis.
All right, I'm going to say this. It's going to be the Warriors. That's going to be the best chance that the Suns have to win. I think, Zach, would you agree with me there?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that if there's a best chance for them to win, not saying they're going to win.
I mean, I'd say so, yes.
The best chance to win. All right, let's move on to who we think are going to be in the finals. So don't say anything about the finals game, just the teams that are going to get there. Zach, if you were a betting man, who are the two teams in the finals?
I think it's gonna be the Lakers and the Sixers. And the reason why I'm sticking with that is because that was my preseason pick. I think the Lakers falling to the play-in game, I think it kind of gets them sparked up a little bit. I'm never gonna bet against LeBron James. I think LeBron James carries them through and gets to the finals still.
All right, I'll go because I cannot wait to hear what Brandon's going to say here, and he looks like he has some food in his mouth. So I'm going to say the Sixers, and it is a little bias there, right? All right, I'm saying they're going to win the East. I said at the beginning of the season, I'm going to stick with it. They're the number one seed, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy to the Eastern Conference Finals, in my opinion. And I think that's going to spark them because I can see the Nets getting in some tough series early on, and that's going to kind of cause some I just want to say it's going to be more wear and tear on them, where the Sixers are going to get some wins. Now, again, that can hurt them. They could be waiting a lot of days there for teams. But if there's a team that needs freaking rest for a big series, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid needs that rest. Those knees need it because they're going to be feeding him the ball. And I think that's how they beat the Nets, feeding Embiid. Because listen, I understand the Nets are going to score like crazy, but I also think that the Sixers, Doc Rivers, are going to have a good game plan to trying to kill clock, almost like a football team there, right? Hey, we're going to work our offense. We're going to try to get the ball in the post. Who's going to stop him there? If they're going to try to do that, we're going to kick it out to different guys, okay? And I think the Sixers don't have a good enough defense to stop the Nets, but I think they have a good enough defense to slow up their pace. And that's what I'm going to say about that, okay? Now, the Western side.
Man, I didn't know we were going into detail.
Sorry, I felt like I was short on last. I wanted to go into it. Real quick, I think the Lakers also make it. And listen to this. I think the Warriors win tonight. I saw the video of Braun out with Drake last night with a little drink in his hand. Listen, I think the Lakers look at this bracket. And again, every team wants to win, right? And I could be completely wrong. They look at this bracket and think, we're going to win the losers game. We're going to beat Memphis or San Antonio. And then we're going to go to the left side and play the Jazz in the first round. Yeah, give me that. All right, then we're going to either play the Clippers in Dallas in the next round.
Yeah.
All right, come on, give it to me. Now we'll face one of those other teams, Denver or the Suns or Golden State again. Come on, man. I think the Lakers know what they're doing, and if they slip up and lose tonight, I'm going to say it's not on purpose, but it is on purpose, if you catch my drift. So Lakers, Sixers, and that's going to be such a big market type of game. I don't know how it would end, but listen, I think that would be I don't want to say an all-timer, but I think a lot of fans are going to be watching for that. Now, they probably would actually get more views for the Nets, Lakers, but that's another story. Brandon,
but how happy is Adam Silver that the play-in game is LeBron versus Curry?
I know. Because he knows both of them are going to make it in. They both are.
Who would have predicted that? Who would have predicted that? To start out the play-in games? Man, that's awesome.
I'm going to say I never stay up past 10:30 on a work night. I know. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to stay up tonight at least till halftime. I mean, I can't watch the whole game because it ended at 1 a.m., but, like, I'll stay up till halftime. I'm not going to lie. It has me intrigued that much. I don't even stay up for the full college football national championship. Sometimes I'll fall asleep. I'm serious. That game is on way too late.
They're on.
It's on way too late. I'm sorry. I'll be the first to admit it. I'll try to stay up, but if sometimes it can get boring and I'll fall asleep. With that being said,
I fell asleep during the Clemson Alabama national championship. Woke up for the last drive that Clemson won the first one, and then I woke up on the Villanova the first time they won it. I woke up the last 5 minutes of that game.
Oh no, I watched that whole game. That was the best college basketball game I've ever watched. Yeah, that Villanova game.
But all right, sorry to get off track. Go ahead, Brandon.
I'll go with my final four teams. I think we all probably have the same final four.
Yeah.
I have the Clippers and the Lakers.
Okay.
And then I have.
So then you have the Lakers winning tonight.
Huh?
So you have the Lakers winning tonight.
I do.
Okay.
I think that's right. Right? Yeah. Clippers are on the
win, then they would play in the Western Conference Finals.
No. If I had the two meetings somehow. I did the bracket. I had the two meetings.
So your final six.
That's all I know. I have the Clippers and the Lakers, and then I have the Nets and the Sixers. But I think the Nets and the Bucks, I think people sleep on the Bucks still. I know they've gotten bounced, but
series. I do.
I think the Bucks wear out the Nets, and that's why I'm picking the Sixers to make the Eastern Conference Finals. Everyone is on the Nets bandwagon. I think the Sixers defensively match up perfectly to the Nets, especially after they play a tough series against Milwaukee.
Their series isn't going to be easy either against Boston.
The Boston series is going to
be.
And I understand Jaylen Brown's out, but still, I'm not going to sleep on Brad Stevens and the Celtics there.
Tatum just dropped 50 last night.
Yeah.
I think Simmons is going to be on Harden or Durant, and then Embiid's going to be doing his thing. Defensively, I mean, I don't know. The Nets are going to be a little shaky. I obviously they have the most talented roster, but we'll see. I don't what are they, 5 deep? Honestly. I mean, Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, James Harden.
Yeah, and I think the Sixers
Durant.
bench is better.
I don't think I trust Blake Griffin at this point in his career. So it's going to be tough. So I had the Sixers, and then I have the Clippers. Actually, originally I had the Sixers Lakers at the beginning of the year. I'm flipping to the Clippers. Actually, it scares me to death that LeBron and AD have been banged up all year, and people sleep on Kawhi. Kawhi is one of the greatest playoff players. Period. I mean, he's gone to 2 teams, just like LeBron. He's been the man on 2 teams. He was the man on the Spurs at the end of his career. He won 2 finals MVPs with 2 separate teams. Paul George is no slouch. He's a top 12 player in the NBA. Kawhi and Paul as wing defenders too. They could guard LeBron. They could guard. I don't think they're going to guard AD, but I don't know. I think the Clippers win it this year.
I would say the playoff performance that Kawhi put on with the Raptors, I think, was one of the top performances ever.
Yes.
He was unbelievable against the Sixers. He was unbelievable the whole playoffs, even in the finals against the Warriors. But what he did against the Sixers was unreal. That dude, he was like a robot. He didn't miss. He did not
That
miss.
shot is probably the wildest shot of
Crazy.
any NBA shot ever. I don't know how that went in.
Yeah.
Do I have to pick the winner?
Now, I'll start with the winner because I'll be quick about it. I'm going to say the Sixers. Now, listen, if they go Brandon's route of the Clippers, listen, I still think about watching Kawhi's shot go in to beat him when he was with Toronto. Something about, I think the Clippers and the Sixers, that the way Brandon's saying it too, I think that's a scary matchup for the Sixers. I think that the Clippers could match up with them very well. But Lakers, I'm going to go ahead and say that that's going to be a low-scoring series, and I think that plays in the favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, here's the thing. I think they match up very well because you're going to go Bron and Simmons, right? They're going to be matched up together. Bron's going to get his, but again, I think Simmons causes enough havoc to where it can happen. And then if he gets switched off to Tobias, I'm also fine with that because I can also see Tobias guarding Bron and Simmons guarding AD. I can see it happening. And then again, who's going to stop Embiid on there if it's not AD, right? And I think Tobias would thrive in that series because unless LeBron's guarding him, who's stopping Tobias? If he's on Tobias, Ben's going to go to the rack. You still have your kickoff guys. And again, I'm going to rely on the Philadelphia's bench to handle themselves or also outscore. And I think that's what carries them in the playoffs, that bench. Tyrese Maxey is getting great time, and that's going to help get experience because he was a guy that wasn't getting that much time here at the end, right? So now look, it's hard to go away from him. You have Matisse off the bench. You have George Hill off the bench. You have Dwight off the bench. I think that the Sixers bench is going to be what helps them win a championship, believe it or not. So I'm going to go Sixers. But if it happens with Brandon's matchup in the Clippers, I'm worried. And I think the Clippers could come out on top with that one. Not saying 100%, but I think that's a tough matchup for the Sixers. All right, Brandon, what do you think? Who are your winners out of the Sixers and Clippers?
I have the Clippers winning. I think this is their year. I think they're talented. Last year, honestly, going into the year last year, I thought the Clippers were going to win. Like I'm that high on Paul George and Kawhi Leonard as a duo. I think they're that good.
It all depends on playoff P, right?
Yeah, if Paul George plays how he should be able to play, they're really good. I was a huge fan of him in Indiana. I mean, people forget how freaking great he was in Indiana. He hasn't been as good on the Clippers or like the Thunder, but when he was in Indiana, he was a walking bucket, and defensively, good luck. Yeah. I just think the Clippers match well versus Sixers. I don't know if I trust Danny Green and Seth Curry enough to be able to shoot lights out versus the Clippers. I don't see it. I think the Clippers match up really well versus Sixers. Probably more it makes it more difficult than any other team, I'd say, than the Clippers and the Sixers. I don't
They have the
see it.
personnel to match up defensively. They really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Sixers also. I think the Sixers are gonna win it. But I do think the Clippers are a tough matchup, so I'm really hoping they lose. But I think the Lakers get there, and I think the Lakers-Sixers will be a great series. But the one thing for the Sixers, I think that is going to help them, I think they are very inconsistent. And I'll say that. There are some nights where I watch the Sixers and I say, there's no way this team can lose. And then I watch the Sixers the next night and I'm like, how are we the number one seed? And it's frustrating. But I do think the one thing this year that's different than the previous years is that Tobias Harris, I think, is going to play big. I think he's going to be a big factor for us. They're going into the playoffs healthy. Last year, we didn't have Simmons. That was a big loss for us. Tobias Harris was not playing good last year. So it was pretty much Joel Embiid out there by himself. I think that Tobias Harris is the X factor for the Sixers, and that's why they're going to go far, and I think that's why they're going to win it all. Now, Brooklyn, I think, has the best roster, and this took me a lot because earlier, a couple shows ago, I did say that they were going to get the number one seed when we picked our predictions for the second half. But the thing with Brooklyn is they didn't stay healthy. They haven't stayed healthy all year. And there's some things about Brooklyn that I feel like if they go through this tough stretch throughout the playoffs and play in deep series, I think either they're going to get hurt or they're just not going to have any energy left to beat a team like the Sixers. So I think could have a couple sweeps before they get there. So we'll see. On the West side, LeBron James, it doesn't matter where he's at. I don't care what seed he's in. He is the best player on the court. You don't think so?
He's injured. He's even said his ankle is not 100%. He's 36 years old.
I know, but
the Clippers.
Part of me, and I kind of agree with Nick, I think he is a manipulator. I think he finds a way. Look, they were rested up. They knew they were going to get in. They're in. Now they can see who do they want to play. You want to play the Jazz? You want to play the Suns? They can literally
What
pick.
if they lost to Memphis and Dylan Brooks scored 60 points? That could happen.
John Morant.
They're not going to, though. You know what I mean? Like the West side is weird to me because I think the two best teams usually are all the way at the bottom. So for me, I'm kind of thrown off a little bit. I think the Clippers are even better than a 4 seed. I think the Clippers should have been higher than a 4 seed. So
I think Denver's a pretender.
Who?
Denver's a pretender. Jamal Murray's out. People forget Jamal Murray is literally out for the year. Don't make that face, Nick.
Jokic is playing MVP.
Yeah, Jokic.
It's not a one-man show, and that's the reason the Warriors aren't going to win.
Michael Porter Williams had a great year.
Porter Williams.
Michael Porter Williams. Shout out Q, shout out Process, baby. But honestly, I think the Sixers are going to win. And that's not even me being a homer. I think the Sixers are built for it this year. And Tobias Harris is the X factor. He was the guy that I felt was holding them back the past 2 years. And this year, I think Doc Rivers has a lot to prove, and he gets the best out of Tobias Harris. And I think this is the year for the Sixers. If they're going to win it, this is the year to do it. And Doc Rivers has a lot to prove because he had a championship-built team with the Clippers and didn't succeed with them. So
who knows the Clippers more than Doc Rivers?
Exactly. Ton of hate.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. I think the Eastern Conference top 4 is better than the Western Conference top 4.
Absolutely.
Because I really think Milwaukee is freaking great.
I think the 4, the 7, and the 8 are the best seeds, are the best teams in the West.
Dude. Yeah. And it's crazy. The Pacers, as an 8 seed, Sabonis, I mean, he's good.
It's not a one-man show.
It's not. It's not. And which is why I had the Sixers winning 4 games to 1 versus the Pacers.
Okay. All right. So we got Sixers. Clearly a biased pick by both of us because that's what we want to see. But listen, I'm not mad at it. I think Brandon's pick is a great pick. Listen, people are probably going to have that, right? But the 4 seed winning it all, I think they're going to have that easier route unless the Lakers lose tonight. I think the Lakers can run that side. Do you guys have any non-basketball things here? We see our time clicker coming up. But do you guys have any non-basketball news or things you want to talk about? Or are you guys good for closing thoughts here?
I'm a little worried about Brian Snitker's job in Atlanta. Not doing too well. They just signed their third catcher of the month. They signed Jonathan Lucroy, and they just made a trade. Sorry, didn't sign. They made a trade for a catcher. So I don't know what the Braves are doing right now. They're not playing very good ball. But I wouldn't be shocked if the next month or so we see Brian Snitker out in Atlanta.
Chipper Jones.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Is it Chipper Jones, next head coach?
Oh, Jesus. Maybe.
I don't know. He's always hanging around spring training, so
yeah,
we'll see.
Earlier in the year, we said the NL East might be the best division. Well, we were dead wrong. I don't know if you've looked at the standings. The AL East, the Yankees are in fourth place. They're like 23-19. They're in fourth. They're in like eighth place and seventh place in the AL, fourth place in their own division. The AL East is tough. Toronto's got a young squad. Boston, of course, is playing out of their minds.
Yeah.
Tampa, I knew was going to be there. Tampa's good every year. They're like Oakland. Oakland's good every year, no matter who's on the roster. I'm surprised that the Angels are so bad, and Mike Trout just got injured. Yikes. Ohtani can't do it all. I mean,
I think it said Mike Trout is out like 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
He's out for a while.
Yep.
They're screwed. The Angels might have the worst record in baseball at the end of like the season. I mean, they're that bad. Besides Minnesota. I'm sorry. Minnesota is the worst team, which is weird because they have the same team as 2 years ago when they won 103 games.
Yep.
I just don't get it. They're a weird team. Their pitching is brutal.
They don't get any. I feel like they just don't get any better as a team. They just don't get any better. It's a very weird atmosphere team there.
Playing out of his mind.
Yep. I'll never understand.
And they still stink. I don't get it.
Never understand it.
Well, what I'm going to bring up is that we were 100% right about these no hitters. Yet again, another no hitter in the MLB this season. Like, it's crazy. How bad is baseball offensively right now for some of these teams? Not every team, but for some of the teams, it's horrible. Again, they're just running into the team twice.
There's 2 times already.
And,
no hit.
And they're bringing up prospects, top prospects. It's like, all right, maybe it's because they're – no, that's bad. Bad, but we knew Mariners bad anyway, right? But again, another no-hitter. We're right on it. Now, another thing, if I'm sure everybody's seen it and heard already, people have talked about it, but Kelvin Benjamin getting brought in to be a tight end. And the classic clip of Booger McFarland when I think he was with the Bills saying he was a biscuit away from being a tight end.
Popeye's biscuit away.
Yeah. A couple of them biscuits because hopefully he's a great blocker. Obviously, the hands are going to be there, the route running. But I think that's very funny. And that might be a steal. Who knows?
I think people are looking too into this. Dave Gettleman drafted him in Carolina. The Giants are bringing him in for a camp body. People forget camp has like 90 plus guys. They cut it down to 54, 55. He's not going to make the team. They have Kyle Rudolph, Evan Ingram, and they had this 6'8" Tolulu guy who they use for blocking situations, which Jason Garrett likes to do a lot. They have 3 tight ends. They're not going to lose any of them. This Benjamin, he's not going to make the roster. The same thing with Tim Tebow. Like, can we stop having so much criticism of camp bodies?
You're wearing a Tebow shirt. You're wearing a Tebow shirt right now. All right, but hey,
I said last week I don't think he's going to be a thing. If he does make it, he'll be like a coach, basically.
That motivational speaker, shaking hands, kissing babies, going to golf outings. All right, but we are running out of time here, everybody. So again, thank you for watching. As always, please leave some likes, leave some comments. My name is Nick.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Zach.
And we'll see you guys next week on Recliner Sports Talk.